So Liverpool beaten PSG 3-2 at Anfield. Another glorious, glorious night for Liverpool and Klopp. When everyone else is failing, everything's going brilliantly for them. So why not talk to Paul Machin of Redmen TV, who was at the game last night, who witnessed Firmino scoring that last gasp winner. Paul, is there anything better than a last gasp winner in Europe?
No, genuinely not. It is the greatest feeling known to man. And we've had a few of them down the years, to be fair. And even funnier, that's the second one we've given to Thomas Tuchel as well. So, in his face.
In his face. So I think we should probably start with this. Last season, you didn't quite get there. Some mentalness in the final with Karius and a wonder goal by Gareth Bale. But is this the season? I know it's just very early days, it's the first game, but what are the Liverpool fans thinking? Are you believing already?
You know what it is, mate? We've gone through a spell of our history, recent history, where Liverpool haven't been a force, and every time we've threatened to be a force, it falls away massively. We reach a peak, and unfortunately, those peaks are never where we quite want to be. You know, it's always like we'll come second in the league or whatever, and then the team falls apart the season after. This feels like we're back to being a consistent power. So I wouldn't say that there's an expectation on Liverpool to go all the way to the final again or to win it. But you know what it is? It's a belief that it's possible, and that people Liverpool have become a bit of a meme for this in the last decade of this year's our year, which I don't think anyone ever really says per se. What we tend to say is next season's going to be our year, which is a little bit of gallows humour about how give us another summer to fix stuff and we might be back and we might be better. It feels like we can beat anyone, and if you can beat anyone, then you've got every chance of winning stuff, if that makes sense.
Spurs had one where it wasn't next year will be our year, it was just there's always next year. Not to suggest that we were ever going to achieve anything, just, look, this is another season, we'll do it again next season. Whereas Liverpool fans seem to have this, we're going to win it next season, which is, I think, a more wholly holistic and positive way to approach football. We're going to come on to actually the way Liverpool fans feel about their club and how perhaps their support is different to that of others in a bit. But before we do that, how did you go about, or how did Klopp go about toppling PSG? What did he do? How did he negate the kind of the undoubtedly world-class talents of Mbappe and obviously Neymar?
Well, it was fascinating, the role that the midfield played in that, because we looked at the starting 11, and I think as much as he has his detractors, which is probably funny from the outside look at him, because I think outside looking at people probably think Jordan Henderson is really good after his World Cup all of a sudden, but there's a small group of, I think, 12-year-olds on Twitter who don't really like Jordan Henderson very much. So when he came in, I think there was a little bit of extra pressure on him in that regard, and it meant Naby Keita dropped out to the side, and there would have been a question of why have we done that? And it's because, for a start, that midfield three had so much experience in the Champions League forward last season, but also in terms of the game intelligence of Gini Wijnaldum and James Milner playing those sort of supporting midfield roles. At times they were 8s, 8.5s, 10s, whatever you want to call them, supporting the attack. But what they did when the fullbacks pushed on, so when Andy Robertson pushed on down, because we look to stretch the pitch, get Robertson wide, get Trent Alexander-Arnold very, very wide. Whoever was most advanced of our fullbacks, the corresponding midfield dropped into cover for them, and that wasn't like chasing back to cover. No, Robertson would push up to that, up beyond the halfway line, and James Milner would just come in and sit in behind him, basically in the left back position, just in case we got caught out. And it just meant that we managed to give ourselves a good, strong platform to attack, but we never ludicrously overcommitted in the way that maybe Liverpool teams have in the past.
What did you think when Mbappe scored the equaliser and you kind of felt like that was it, a point against PSG, not a bad result, let's see what we can do when we go over there, and then Liverpool responded, as they have done many times, and Firmino scored. What was that feeling like?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say, it's easy to say with hindsight, but I didn't feel like it was done. It was a bit of a sucker punch, but one thing that's telling about the way that the players approach it, you can see in the body language a lot of the times how players, how they respond to things. And within the next minute or two, you had some of the youngest lads on the pitch tearing around. Trent Alexander-Arnold tearing into things, Gomez tearing into things, and you're like, God, if these lads believe, then maybe there's something still to come out of this game. And it was, so yeah, like I said, I wouldn't say I expected us to win it, because that's ludicrous, but it definitely, I wasn't totally hopeless when that equaliser went in. I just felt a bit like, this is a shame, because a draw against PSG is fine, but it's not, a win is a bit of a statement. And then obviously, Roberto Firmino goes and does the absolute business.
Yeah.
The guy's basically got one. He's basically the Gabriel of football at this point. He's got one eye, and he's won the game for us. And yeah, the scenes on the terraces last night when that goal went in were just unreal.
Yeah, I can imagine. Obviously, you've been linked with Rabiot. A lot of players have. A lot of teams have. Seems to be a desired midfielder. He's an absolute unit, but very graceful and glides around the pitch. I thought he played relatively well. He's available on a Bosman in January. What did you think of him, and would he be a good signing for Liverpool, do you think?
We were looking into him the other week when these links came out, and I did the cursory YouTube search, as we all do, and he looked fine, exactly what you described there. He looked like a graceful Marouane Fellaini with the hair, the big hair and all that kind of stuff. I'll be honest, I tend not to watch opposition players. I tend not to notice opposition players against Liverpool. I always see them as kind of objects in the way of the players that I pay attention to. So I wouldn't say Rabiot's performance stood out to me in any way. I didn't come away from the game and go, ooh, player there. Whereas I could look at the obvious ones, there's the flashes of brilliance from Neymar and obviously from Mbappe, etc. And you can kind of hang your hat on them. Whereas I didn't see anything from Rabiot there that made me think, oh, he would complete our midfield in any way, shape or form.
I'll tell you who does complete your midfield. James fucking Milner. Like, he just will not go away, that guy, will he? It's how does he fit in his Liverpool side? You signed Keita, you've got like an incredible midfield. This is nearly a Champions League winning team. James Milner was for a long time kind of seen as like a workman. Like, he's just so good this season. He's been so good. Like when you look played Liverpool
last season, mate.
I know. Look, but I didn't notice him. All I'm saying is against Spurs, when you lot came to Tottenham, I wasn't looking there thinking, oh shit, James Milner's in town. Then he just dominates the midfield completely. He's taking a piss.
More feel you, mate. No, James Milner's class, absolutely class. The problem is there's just there's English lads, and I think there's just no mystique around them. Is that we've all seen enough of them to formulate an opinion on them, or an opinion on them. And of course, you've got there's a rivalry element thrown in there. And
of course, yeah.
James Milner's been a bit of a utility man. He's bounced around a bit as well, hasn't he? He's been a bit of a journeyman in his career. And there's a degree to which maybe there's a logic that follows. If you're leaving Man City, then you are maybe in some fans' minds taking a step down or somehow. I don't know. And look, I'll be honest. He came to Liverpool, and he's come to Liverpool because we basically said he can play centre mid, and we all scoffed at that. James Milner playing centre mid for us? Are you mad? And it never quite worked out from under Brendan Rodgers, because obviously Rodgers didn't last long. Klopp ended up using him as he used him all over the place in his first season. Used him on the wing quite well at times. Played a season at left back for us, and he plays a season at left back, and you're like, well, there you go. And we saw that his legs fell off at the back end of that campaign. He thought, okay, well, that's probably the end, the last of James Milner. But he didn't really start last season, and that was because he just wasn't good enough. Turns out he was just relearning the midfield role, and since then you could make a case that he's been our best midfielder for the last not quite 12 months, but probably 10 or 11 months.
I mean, you got to love him. Like, certainly because he played out on that left hand side and then at left back at times, and you're thinking he's just like a lot of players. Like Kyle Walker was complaining at the World Cup because he didn't want to play centre back, and you're like, that's for England, where I suppose, or wherever your country you're from, you kind of your duty to play for your national side or whatever. But Milner's just like, oh yeah, I'll play left back. I'll get on with it. You got to love the guy, man. He's a kind of, you kind of wish more footballers had his sort of mentality and psyche and were less like some of the others. Mohamed Salah, no, I'm not suggesting that there's any issue at Liverpool with Salah, obviously. I'm not. But he hasn't started the season as well. I didn't think he was incredible against Tottenham like he has been. And there was that clip going around that he threw the water bottle. Now, I don't know anything more than that. All I'm asking you, is there any Is it anything bubbling under the surface there?
Nah, I had a few people tweet me about this, and then I also had people tweet me the video where he is actually celebrating the goal. So I think what we're having at the moment is that I think again there's a bit of like maybe it's the internet troll banter culture or whatever, where there's not really anything you can banter Liverpool with. And to be fair, Liverpool have provided so much banter ammunition in the last 10 years that there's probably a lot of these sociopathic social media accounts that really are looking for some clicks, because they've just got. I mean, Man United have helped them. Make no mistake. In the last few months in that regard. But no, what we've seen is a few people losing their heads over stuff, and we're getting upset. If we're getting upset because Mo Salah's not doing a cartwheel on the touchline when we've scored a winning goal against Paris Saint-Germain, or that the weekend it was Sadio Mane's being a little bit selfish in front of goal, that was the thing people were getting upset about. Last year we were getting upset because we were drawing too many games. These are good issues, because they're non-issues. 2 years ago, our issue was, do we have owners who are thoroughly backing the club? Are we spending enough money? Are we able to compete? Is our squad good enough? Are we carrying too many people? Do we have the right mentality? Are we lethal enough in front of God? Etc., etc., etc. We had actual footballing problems.
Yeah.
It's just social media bullshit, basically designed to just keep people talking.
Fair enough. Let's make a good point there. Okay, so finally, one of the things I've been thinking about, certainly over the last, I think it's probably since the Suarez incident, where there was kind of like a universal, it felt like from an outwards perspective, a universal backing of a Liverpool player by Liverpool fans when the rest of the footballing fraternity were kind of turning on him. And at the time, I was thought, well, you're wrong for backing him because what I considered him to be doing something wrong. But then I started thinking, actually, is this more a thing about Liverpool as a fan base and how they feel about their club, where it's a kind of us versus everybody? And I've noticed it more since in the last couple of weeks when you look at Tottenham. You look at the fan base online and on Twitter, and I know it's not a good barometer of people who go to the football and really love their club, but there's a lot of angry people there, and probably Arsenal are a better example of this, where they're kind of very fractious fan base. And Liverpool don't really seem to have that, or it appears that way. Is there a unity that's dissimilar to what most other football fan bases are like? And if that is the case, where do you think that comes from?
I think it exists. I think it's a perception thing at the moment. There's got to be a crisis club at all times because there's 6 basically top quality football teams now, who are vying for 4 places in the Champions League. It means that there's 2 clubs going to be in crisis at every game week. There's got to be someone who's got to be in meltdown, and a fan base that's not happy. And unfortunately, I think fan media, whether that's online, whether that's Twitter, forums, fan TV, can exacerbate that a little bit at times. The thing is, Liverpool are spending money to improve the obvious deficiencies in the squad. Something we've struggled with at times. So spending big money, that's been a major complaint that we've had. We're winning football games. We're getting to finals again, which is it's not winning trophies, which I think might cause fractions in time. I think we would expect to win silverware in the next few years. Otherwise, that might cause divisions. But at the minute, we're playing a brand of football that we can all get behind. Everyone's clearly bought into this philosophy as well of dying for the shirt, which is all we ever really. I know you're the same for view of football. You just want to see the lads go out there and play with the hearts on the sleeves, like you would as a fan. So there's bad idiots in Liverpool's fan base at the minute. They can't stick their head above the parapet because they'll just get battered, and so they're kind of keeping their heads down. But they're all ready. They're ready to pop out because, as I say, there's basically weirdos all over the place. We're not immune to that, but we've built up a more consistent resistance to it because, as I say, if you win in football matches, what really is there to complain about?
Amazing stuff, Paul. Congratulations on your win. I don't know, it's tough. I did watch the game, and I did think of you and Chris in the stand, and that made me smile. So look, I think you've got everything you need to in order to go and potentially do very, very well in the Champions League. and really challenge for that Premier League as well. So it could be an incredible season for Liverpool.
Can I just, before you go, I've done a vlog of the game last night. If anyone wants to see what kind of goes on inside Anfield during these big European nights, it's over on my personal YouTube channel. Check it out.
Is that Mace TV?
Kera.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Remember to drop a like. Let us know what you think of Liverpool's campaign in the comments below, and hit subscribe. And we'll see you soon.